Gather round, everyone. Thanks for joining us. It's another episode of the I'll Try That podcast. We're going mano a mano today. It's me, Barbs, and it's Joe Druitt. Say hi, Joe.
Hola.
Thanks for joining us once again. Come with us, please, as we head north of the border. We're heading towards Aberdeen to have a bit of a look at Fierce Beer. Exciting.
That's very north of the border.
You're like get there and keep going. Fierce Beer is the matter of our subject matter today. But first, I'm going to go to Joe, who's got the hop topic. Joe, what you got for us?
So this week, we're talking more sustainability. Sustainability, big hot news. We're talking about a big brewery in Carlsberg.
Yeah.
One of the biggest. And Carlsberg are doing their largest trial of sustainable bottles.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, something different from the normal glass option, I'm guessing.
Yeah. So glass, as we know, the price has gone through the roof. It's so hard to get glass bottles right now. The price of glass has gone through absolutely astronomical. So coincided with the fact that there's a massive push, as we know, in the beer industry and in the rest of the world to stop using plastic, stop using glass, to look for alternative materials that you can make your products out of.
Yeah.
So Carlsberg have lent very heavily into card.
Card. Okay.
So what they refer to as their recyclable fiber beer bottles. So these are bottles. They look like card. They're card bottles.
Actually, do look like card.
Yeah, quite literally look like card bottles. And it has this polyethylene phenolate, or PEF, as you'll probably refer to
That's
it
easy
going
for
forward.
you to say.
It's a polymer lining. So basically, it's a wood-based fiber shell with a plant-based inner.
Okay.
That keeps the liquid safe. So it's not going to seep out. So it's not card. So use it, to say it's card.
It's watertight either way.
is oversimplifying it. It's a wood-based fiber shell on the outside, as what you would pick up and you'd touch, with a plant-based inner, which keeps the liquid secure and not leaking through the wood-based outside.
Oh, okay. It's weird. I can't quite get my head around, what that necessarily looks like until you maybe necessarily get one in your hand. I've also got in my head that it's slightly sort of kind of dry feel on the lips as you put it to your mouth. But
and a lifetime on the hips.
But you would have thought at the same time they're not going to be doing this if they thought it was going to have a real detrimental effect on the beer.
I've just pinged you a photo on the chat, so you can have a look at what this looks like.
Thank you.
But it looks like like a bottle, but like a weird. It's not like a. You know how
almost
glass
like an egg
you
box?
can get.
Is that?
Yeah, you know how like a glass bottle is quite shapely, it's quite crafted. Obviously, you know what a Carlsberg looks like. This one looks quite stumpy.
Yeah,
it's
kind of a little bit like the green Teletubby that was kind of less popular somehow.
Yeah, it is. It's a knockoff Teletubby. Yeah, I guess that's what you say. Yeah.
I say green, totally. I say green because it's got the Carlsberg label, but actually the rest of it is super beige.
Yeah, and I always wondered about how with the top part of it, how you would get like a cap to fit onto card outside of glass. It makes sense. Glass, it makes sense because it's like got those rivets and kind of blah, blah. So basically what they've done, by the looks of things, if you look very closely at the top of it, it's got a normal like metal or aluminium, what it'll be, cap. But it's then I don't know what it is, like a weird fitment that doesn't look like the rest of the bottle.
Yeah.
Which must be sustainable and must be recyclable as well, this fitment, but it doesn't like an extra piece that's added on to the top of the bottle.
Yeah.
And then you've got the cap on. So it's like three pieces if you were to think about it that way.
Yeah, it's almost like a kind of like almost, it's not Velcro, but the thing that matches with the cap.
Yeah.
And then
it doesn't feel like naturally part of what you're seeing. It's like added on.
It could be superimposed, couldn't it? Yeah. I'm trying to have a bash at this word. Polyethylene. You're right. Nightmare, this, isn't it? Polyethylene furanoate polymer lining. Yeah, easy.
So PEF is what you'll hear in the future. PEF. So PEF is being used in a lot of places. It's basically the inner lining that's plant-based. So if you're looking for those sustainability credentials, you're looking at PEF as a way of still delivering your liquid in more sustainable formats to consumers.
Okay. Well, you know what? If there's one thing, even not necessarily the actual materials we make the bottles out of, I think one thing I've noticed doing this podcast is over the years, it actually is now. But innovation, yeah, we'll go for a bit of that. Who knows?
Let's go in there. And I think Carlsberg's not the first, but Carlsberg's certainly shouting about it, the largest right now. I think that, this sample of 8,000 bottles going across European markets like the UK, France and Poland, I think you're going to, people who are listening to this podcast will probably likely see these cardboard or wood-based, whatever you want to call it. These are very different looking bottles. And Carlsberg say that the bottles still retain the same taste and fizziness as the glass does with their bottles. Again, I would love to get my hands on one of these and try and test it for the viewers out there to see if it actually does taste like a Carlsberg Pilsner.
Yeah, legit.
But they're saying as well, the whole point of this is that obviously it's very sustainable. It's not using a resource that's finite, certainly finite in the sense that glass is not finite, in some respects, but it's very much been brought to a head because glass is such a scarce commodity right now that anything in glass is going through the roof. That you're looking at different means. You're looking for different materials that you can rely on that aren't, these things that, will be dictated to by, what's happening in the market.
Yeah, they've got the distribution routes as well, Carlsberg, haven't they? If they want to actually, take this forward, you would have thought. I'm actually not the head of a major brewery myself, but if there's enough people buying Carlsberg already for them to sort of kind of go, okay, well, you're getting bottles made of PEF.
Yeah.
To actually sort of come to fruition, if that makes sense.
No, totally. And, and they've already said themselves, this is, so the spokesperson, Stephanie Munch, who's the vice president. I thought you'd like that.
Rugby player. I've got to be a rugby player. Stephanie Munch has got to be a rugby player. I hope so, anyway.
Sorry, it might even be Stefan Munch.
Or Stefan Munch. Either way.
There you go.
I want to get munched.
But they are the vice president for group development at Carlsberg, and they're quoted in this article saying, identifying and producing PEF as a competence functional barrier for beer has been one of the greatest challenges. So getting good test results, because again, not to forget, this is a test of 8,000 bottles. It's a big test, but it's a test nonetheless. Collaborating with suppliers and seeing the bottles being filled on the line is a great achievement. So, it sounds like from that, Carlsberg are already patting themselves on the back. Well done, Carlsberg. We're doing a great job.
Way to go, Carlsberg.
We'll see. Let's see if it takes off. This is possibly a really good starting point for Carlsberg to be considered as being quite fully organic with what they're doing. So some huge credentials that could come Carlsberg's way if this test is successful. But again, it's still a test. Things could go wrong.
Yeah,
so we'll see. We'll see how consumers deal with it.
Yeah, that's nice, because with the glass thing, we were saying that kind of story has kind of grown, so it's been nice to see how the reaction kind of grows. But good stuff. Well, let's move on and let's do our pursuit of hoppiness then in that case. Fierce Brewery in Aberdeen. I've got to say, I'd never heard about these guys until we got started on this. I've got the Fierce Hazy IPA. Joe, what do you know about them? What have you got?
I'm with you, Bubs. I've never heard of Fierce. I think now I've seen the logo, which is this weird, angry strawberry, or maybe an angry hop. Maybe it's a hop.
It's got to be a hop. That would make more sense, wouldn't it? It would make a lot more sense.
But yeah, it's a very angry hop.
Yeah.
Let's say, with the word fierce written underneath in all capitals.
I'm almost going to call it a hopkin. It looks a little pumpkin-y, right? It's a bit Halloween-y, isn't it?
It is. It's very distinctive. So I have definitely seen this before, this fierce hop, but I've never tried one of their beers. So I must say, the one that you're trying, the IPA, is that right?
That's right, yeah.
That sounds delicious with a sloth in front of it, which is hilarious. You'll tell the listeners all about that in a second. I have picked up their Maple Pancake.
Well, because what else would you pick up?
This might not have been the best first intro to beers that I could possibly have picked up, knowing that this is like a stout, it's a maple. So basically how they describe this beer is a pancake pale that was made with vegan pancakes in the mash and Canadian maple syrup in the boil, it's full-bodied, full-flavored, yet drinkable. So it's perfect with vegan. It's perfect with a vegan breakfast or garnished with a cheeky slice of bacon. The fact that they're calling it a pale is very off-putting.
I thought that last little comment you made before you said that was they're just trying to ride the success of bacon. Have it with a bit of bacon. It's just like, no, that's not, you're cheating there because bacon's wonderful whatever happens.
That's it. And why are they calling it a vegan pancake? It's such very specific, to call it a vegan pancake. So anyway, it's not a pale ale. I don't want to give anyone an illusion here. This is not a pale ale. This is more akin to a stout. It's not even. It doesn't taste like a stout. It's a very dark beer. Right, I am getting this kind of like mapley sweetness that comes through it. So it's not a heavy beer, but it also is not something you want to be drinking in the sunshine, like outside in your garden on a lovely Tuesday, 2:00, whatever you're drinking a beer. I don't know why, but Saturday, Tuesday, whatever. 2:00, midday sun.
Well, that's to pass the Drabber's test of what's a craft beer, they've got to do stuff like this. The hazy pale stands up really nicely to a lot of other beers. I was kind of put off by you can probably see it here, the kind of almost toxic green.
Yeah, that's a very interesting,
with a lot of black and white,
luminous green.
There's real shine to it, but and then lots of black and white apart from that. So I don't know, it probably does stand out on a shelf, but to me that wouldn't necessarily stand out as a beer. Again, to me it's got smacks of Monster Energy. No,
you're totally right. It does look more energy drink than esque, but is it because it's that metallic luminous green? Isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But it's more than acceptable as a pale. Vegan friendly, gluten free, real juicy. You're salivating is drinking this. So it's juicy hops, tropical, proper solid as an IPA. So hats off to them. That's just again, I think you'd have to be an IPA fan to notice it sort of standing out from a lot of others out there. That's quite a saturated market, it's probably fair to say, but it's decent and doesn't look out of place amongst some of those other premium craft beers we've tried before. Now,
Bob, you were telling me off air that there's a kind of how they describe themselves is a bit interesting.
Yeah,
is that right?
They are actually. I wanted to just double check the backstory on this because some of it doesn't really make sense. Two chaps, Dave Grant and Dave McCarty, Dave and Dave, D Squared Brewing, that's what I probably would have gone for, met at a brewing course, and actually it came out of. I understood that. So they describe themselves as being born from a desire of escaping the oil and gas industry. So I'm guessing what we infer from that is that those two, Dave and Dave, were of that background and said, "Well, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to go brew beer."
Makes sense because Aberdeen has been built on the oil and gas industry.
That is
the offshore platforms. That's what I think of because it's the most northern point of Scotland, basically. And unless you go to like the Isle of Skye, you're going to the Outer Hebrides or that sort of stuff. But this is like mainland Scotland. Off the coast is where like big oil drills are. BP are huge in that area. They're a massive employer in Aberdeen. Because of the oil and gas.
I was up there earlier this year, sort of February time. Six Nations was on. I watched, actually it was when England played Ireland, but I was watching in the company of lots of Scotland fans. But yeah, up there, so there's a big presence of, in that neck there was a lot of helicopter pilots for that exact reason of getting out to oil rigs and that sort of thing. Very accepting of me as not being a Scotland fan when it came to watching rugby, which was very, very, very kind of them. But that is what that part of the world is for. Unless beer is
there. It obviously sounds like a heartland of where beer would thrive in that environment. I mean, my only Aberdeen-based anecdote is I was on a train with two then colleagues who one was from Aberdeen and one was from Glasgow, and they were having this conversation in English, but I didn't understand a word of what they were saying.
Yeah, that's real Scots.
It was brilliant. It was a whole different world that I had not experienced before. I was thinking, hang on, but I speak this language as well. How do I not understand what's going on?
I have been sat on a beach with a friend from actually a little bit further west, like Oban way. And
great whiskey in Oban. Great whiskey in Oban.
Oban's got its own preferences, but basically its own preferences. It's got its own strength and that sort of thing. I was in Portugal with a few friends, and the person from Oban, we'd always noticed this thing about Portuguese as a language actually sounds kind of Russian, although you see it written down, kind of looks Spanish.
Yeah, I always felt like Portuguese had a kind of Russian twang to it.
Yeah, so, for instance, the famous one was always Jose Mourinho, one of the most famous Portuguese out there. And he always sounds, kind of like a little bit Russian. Jose. That's the worst impression you'll hear all week. But we were all sat on a beach.
Matthew Barber, king of accents.
Thank you. My reputation precedes me. But we were sat on the beach, and there were some people walking up the beach, and my friend from Oban said, "Yeah, you're right, Portuguese really does sound like Russian, doesn't it?" And then the people that she was sort of pointing at and going, them, they got closer and closer. Kate, they're from Scotland. They're speaking English with a Scottish accent. There's no Portuguese. There's no Russian going on. That's I didn't quite tune into whether they were Glasgow or Aberdeen, but it was definite Scottish accent.
Very thick, and it's it's a different, as you say, it's a different understanding, different appreciation of certain nuances of language which we don't have.
Big time. But Fierce, so, bring it back to where we're coming from. They're 2016, so they've been around 6 years, not such a long time, but they're churning out at least one very solid beer. I was going to have a little look just to see how many others there are.
I'm interested to know what their core beers are, because I've looked on their website and they have a whole section for dark beers. I'm going to describe these dark beers for you.
Okay.
They have one that's called the Heavy on Bourbon. Which is a small batch. It's a barrel-aged wee heavy. And we all know a wee heavy being a Scottish type of beer. So they're very traditional in their roots. They've got a coconut VBM, which is an imperial stout. That sounds like more than a wee heavy, if you ask me.
Yeah, that's my feelings on imperial stouts are well known.
That's it. They've got a BA Imperial Cafe Racer, which is a porter. Again, that's 9%. This is big territory. Ooh. And you've got a bourbon VBM, which is a barrel-aged imperial stout at 12.5%.
Okay. They're not mucking about, are they?
These are some crazy, crazy strong beers. So, the fact that they've got those are 4 dark beers that are core, I would say. They do those all year round. It doesn't seem like they're they go in and out. They're always around.
When you just don't have time to have a beer drinking session, that's where you go to. You've got to squeeze it into 15 minutes. This is where you're going.
And I wish I knew. I would love to know if up in Aberdeen specifically, there is a massive request for these dark beers. I would love to know, because in general, dark beers have nowhere near the sales potential as lighter and those kind of double IPAs, whatever. That whole genre, dark beers massively undersell all of the other types of beers. So the fact that they have 4 distinct beers in this category leads me to believe that maybe in the local populace, local area, these are very well sought after.
Yeah, of course. I've noticed looking through a couple of their other beers, the sloth prevalent in the hazy IPA is not always there. There does also appear to be a vulture wearing a suit.
Yes, I've seen this vulture suit situation. What's all that about?
I wish I knew. If anyone actually listening knows these guys better than we do, maybe they can write in to let us know. That just to me also speaks of almost like a discontinuity in some of their kind of vibe.
Talking about one way they stand out, they've done the most unique collaboration beers series that I've ever heard of. So they have done a collaboration with Tony Sings, who's a very famous Indian, in Scotland, restaurateur.
Oh, the chef, yeah, of course.
Chef, yeah. And they've done a whole series of beers with him. which is hilarious because he's obviously a very Sikh man, and they've got this character. They've got this like kind of silhouette of a Sikh headdress with his eyes, with Tony Singh's written underneath it. So it's very interesting, quite artsy. Cool. And they've got a citrus pale, and they've got an Indian lager as well, which is quite interesting. So their pale ale, or their citrus pale, is a pale ale infused with lemon zest and coriander seed.
Oh wow! Okay, yeah, all right. That's that sounds like a chef's gotten hold of it.
I've never heard of that before. I've never heard of a coriander seed infused beer before. That's really interesting.
That's one.
So definitely the Tony Sings is definitely something I'd be interested to try, because although I'm not the biggest fan of this Maple Pancakes pancake pale, as I've kind of described, I guess, it's just because it's just a dark ale, and I like dark ales, but this is an interesting dark ale. Whereas it sounds like they have some really interesting kind of lighter beers. I mean, their IPA is taste profile, Barbs. Are you seeing anything different from these guys, or is it something that you'd expect?
It's fairly, I mean, it's it's consistent with it. It's one they're doing one which is solid and not necessarily pushing the boundaries, but there are so many of their because they've got the hoppy beers, the dark beers, and small batches as well. There's plenty of others to like push the envelope a little bit, but the hazy is just a nice, fruity, juicy stalwart of the IPA sort of world. So it's worth a go. It's kind of, I think also the more I look at that list, I go, actually, it probably makes sense they had a safe pair of hands in there somewhere, just to have a solid, reliable IPA.
Some of their other collaborations I've just seen. So we haven't done an episode on Mash Gang yet, but we will do, because they're getting a lot of notoriety, Mash Gang, especially for their non-alcoholic stuff. But they have a collaboration beer. They've got two. There's one that's called the Big Natty, with Fierce Beer and Mash Gang. But they also have another one, which is called the Infinity Pool. But with the photo they've posted on Instagram is like a light shimmer, and so it makes it seem like the Infinity Poo. So the child in me had a really good giggle about that when I saw that, and then I was like, "Oh no, actually, it's the Infinity Pool."
I've just found it. Yeah, you're quite fair in what you say there.
Yeah, it's unfortunate with the cropping, but also they took the photo. They should have realised that that's what it actually reads.
The Infinity Pool. Love that. Oh well,
which just works. In my mind,
that is going to stick.
So yeah, it does seem like okay. So I'm interested by Fierce. Now I know that the Angry Strawberry / Angry Hop is a thing. It's a natural brewery. I have known them, this Angry Strawberry, Angry Hop, through collaboration beers. I've never seen them as their own beers before, this Maple Pancake. I wish I hadn't had the Maple Pancake in their intro to Fierce, just because it's not a beer I normally would like anyway. There are, by the sound of things, a lot of other beers that they're doing, which sounds very interesting, and I will look out for Fierce, and I will look out for trying some of their different beers. This Maple Pancake, if you see it, and you're interested in having something that's quite different, you'll be intrigued by it. But don't expect this to be I'm going to get a 6-pack of it and see what happens. Like, it's not a party pleaser. No. It's not a party pleaser, that's for sure. But it's something a bit different. So Instagram, they have 18.7k followers.
Yeah, not bad.
And on Twitter, they have 10k followers. But it doesn't look like they've posted. Oh no, actually, they posted 6 hours ago. About their tropical pale, so yeah, they post quite regularly.
Criticise them for that. Come on, guys, crack on.
Yeah, well, it's just because they have a pinned update from June 21 about their new brewery at the time, but obviously that's a year. Yeah, that's a year ago. Oh my god, June 21's a year ago.
Oh,
don't believe it.
You're gonna kill me.
Anyway, long story short, Fierce Beer, the first Aberdeen-based craft brewer that I've heard of. Definitely worth a try. Specifically, the Maple Pancake Pale Ale, probably not a great shout. Barber, takes last thoughts on the IPA.
Down with that. Sorry, down with that in a good way. Not down with it. I am down, basically. But again, at the same time, we just listed off that there's so many options. So give one of them a try. Probably just bit of a lottery to see which one you get.
And that's all we have time for this week's episode of the I'll Try That podcast. And so from me, Joe, Rich,
Barber,
and Simo,
goodbye. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram,
Twitter,
I'll try that podcast.com.
and watch us on YouTube.
Goodbye now.